And now, Jieshuo, aka Commentary Screen Reader, CSR, or if you're me, the Confused Screen Reader. This is a segment dedicated to this great popular screen reader where we show you some new feature or some feature that we believe you should be in the know of. And now, for this episode, here's your entry for Jieshuo, aka Commentary Screen Reader. And now, let's close today's episode with another entry from Jieshuo, the Commentary Screen Reader. And Kareen brings us that entry, and we're talking about using the long gestures. You guys should know how to use that. If you're using this, this is something that adds another additional usefulness to the Confused Screen Reader. Here's Kareen now to show you how to do that.
Hi. On Android, there are 16 one-finger gestures. The 4 swipes in the 4 directions, the 4 back and forth swipes, and the 8 angular gestures. However, if you are using Jieshuo Screen Reader, you have additional 16 gestures. So the number is 32 gestures that you can perform with one finger. The gestures are the long gestures or the long swipes, and they are similar to the regular gestures. However, what determines if you are performing the regular gesture or the long gesture or the additional gesture is how you perform the gesture. By default, no additional gesture is assigned to any action. So this means that you are able to perform the gesture flexibly like you do with TalkBack. However, whenever you assign a gesture, one of the additional gestures or the long gestures, you should be careful in how you perform the gesture, so Jieshuo is able to know whether you are trying to perform the regular gesture or the long additional gesture. I can say from the beginning that this set of gestures is confusing. Somehow, you need some time to familiarize yourself with the gestures. But if you are used to them, they could be useful. The gestures are available in all gesture schemes, whether you are using a global gesture scheme like the custom gesture scheme or a per app gesture scheme. There is more than one way to perform the gestures. First, you can do the normal swiping gesture or the angular gesture and then keeping your finger slightly on the screen and then lifting the finger. So if you do the gesture and lift the finger quickly, this will mean that you are using or that you are performing the regular gesture. If you keep the finger for about half a second, you will be performing the alternative gesture, but you should pay attention that you shouldn't keep the finger for long on the screen. Another way, which is also using the holding method, and it works with gestures that contain more than one swipe, like the back and forth swipes or the angular gestures, is by having a slight pause between the 2 swipes. So if I'm performing, for example, the swipe right, then down, I do the swipe right, then I pause for milliseconds. I'm not talking about a second here. I'm talking about a very, very short pause. Then I swipe down to complete the gesture. This is also interpreted as the long gesture or the additional gesture. In addition to the holding methods that I mentioned now, there is the other method that I personally prefer, which is the long gesture. So you are performing the gesture in a way that your finger is covering more distance on the screen. So the regular gesture is performed by swiping a short swipe, and the swipe will be longer if you want to perform the long gesture. So if I'm swiping up, the regular swipe up is just a very short swipe up, and then if I make it longer, and here I don't mean a very long gesture, I mean just a longer swipe. So if you swipe up longer than usual, or longer than the short regular swipe, you are performing the long swipe up. With gestures that contain more than one swipe, like the back and forth and the angular gestures, the second swipe should be the long one. So if I'm doing the up then down gesture, I'll swipe up without the need to make it long swipe, and then I'll swipe down but make the swipe down longer. And this is the same with angular gestures, like if I swipe up then right, I'll swipe up, short swipe, then I will curve my finger towards the right, longer than usual, or I will draw actually the line which is towards the right, which will be longer also than the short regular gesture. Also, if you perform the gesture slower than usual, this may be interpreted as the long gesture or the additional gesture. So if I try to make it simple, I'll say that if you want to perform the regular gestures or the main gestures, you do them as short gestures and without holding your finger on the screen after performing the gesture. So you do the gesture quickly and with short swipes, and then you immediately lift the finger off the screen. And if you want to perform the additional gestures, you either keep the finger slightly on the screen after performing the gesture, or you have a slight pause between the gestures parts, if you are talking about gestures that have more than one swipe, or you do the one-directional swipes longer than usual, and with the two swipes gestures, the back and forth and the angular gestures, you perform the second part or the second swipe as a longer swipe. For me, I don't use all of the gestures. I use a few of them, mainly the gestures that are angular ones. Actually, I use 3 of them. And after spending some time with the gestures, I like them and I usually get them right. So you need to take time to try to get used to the gestures. But for me, I don't use the gestures with back and forth swipes or with the one-line swipes. I'll open the Jieshuo settings.
Main menu. Jieshuo settings.
Then general settings.
General settings. General settings.
And
invert swiping. Use custom gesture scheme settings.
custom gesture scheme settings.
Custom.
After the multi-finger gestures,
Triple tap and hold with 3 fingers node. Long up swipe no command.
here the swipes or long swipes start. So we have
Long up swipe no command. Double long down swipe no command. Long left swipe no command. Long right swipe no command. Swipe left then long swipe right no command. Swipe right then long swipe left no command. Swipe up then long swipe down no command. Swipe down then long swipe up no command. Swipe left then long swipe up no command. Swipe left then long swipe down paste function.
this is assigned by me. By default, it has no command. All of them have no commands.
Swipe right then long swipe up no command. Swipe right then long swipe down clipboard history Swipe up then long swipe left no command. Swipe up then long swipe right copy function. Swipe down then long swipe left no command. Swipe down then long swipe right no command. Close button.
And you will find the same set of gestures in other schemes like also the per app gesture schemes. I will perform one of the gestures. I will use the long method. I will do a short swipe right, and then I will make the swiping down longer.
Clipboard history.
And if I do it as quick, short swipes,
Notification shade.
it is opening the notification shade, which is also not the default action of the regular gesture.
Home screen 2 of 2.
Now if I try with the swipe up then right, and I will try to make a very slight pause between the swipe up then right,
Copied to clipboard.
it performed the copy. And if I do it quickly without any pause,
Functions menu.
it's opening the functions menu. If you prefer to use the additional gestures or not, it's a personal choice. However, it's good to have the gestures, and it's good to spend some time experimenting with those gestures, especially if you like using one finger gestures and you feel that the set of gestures, the default set of gestures, is limited. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Kareen.